Good evening. This is the regularly scheduled meeting of the South Haven City Council for Monday, July the 20th, 2020. I'd like to call this meeting in order. We will start with the roll call.
Jeff Arnold,
I'm here.
Chris Campbell,
Here.
Joe Reeser,
Here.
Steve Schlack,
Here.
George Sleeper,
Here.
Letitia Wilkin,
Here.
Scott Smith.
Here. That will take us to the approval of the agenda.
Make a motion.
To approve the agenda. Steve Gillette.
Jeff Arnold, I second.
We have a motion and a second. Let's roll call.
Arnold, Arnold,
Yeah.
Campbell,
Yes.
Reeser,
Yes.
Schlack,
Yes.
Sleeper,
Yes.
Wilkin,
Yes.
Smith.
Yes. That takes us to the consent agenda items A through C.
This is George Sleeper. Make a motion to approve the consent agenda items A through C.
Steve Slack, I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, this is a roll call.
Campbell,
Yes.
Reeser,
Yes.
Schlack,
Yes.
Sleeper,
Yes.
Wilkin,
Yes.
Arnold,
Yes.
Smith.
Yes. Okay. If everyone would let us deviate for just a second. We have Gail Patterson on the phone, and we're just going to insert her to give us an update from the county if we just want to plug her through.
Gail,
Van Buren County Commissioner for District 1, and thank you for your time. I just would like to share a couple items from the county. First of all, the Van Buren County Commissioners were asked to approve a resolution in celebration of the 30th anniversary of Americans with Disabilities Act. And the Disability Network Southwest Michigan has extended an invitation for the community and for the commissioners to take part in their celebration. And I'd just like to read just a little of what they did send out. And I also sent a link to Travis, and he could share it with the city manager and then with residents and the council members. It says, join us in celebration, celebrating the 30th anniversary of the ADA. 2020 marks the 30th anniversary of the signing of the Americans with Disabilities Act. Disability Network Southwest Michigan holds an annual event each July to celebrate the landmark legislation which granted rights and provided independence to so many people. And this year, in light of the COVID-19 pandemic, Disability Network celebration will look a little different. Please join us online for a virtual celebration. And that will take place Friday, July 24th, and it begins at 12 noon. And if anyone is interested in getting further information, I did send that out to Travis and the city manager. The second item I'd like to share is information that was sent by Van Buren Cass District's Health Department. I'm not sure if you received the news release on that or not, but I will share it with you. And it comes from as I said, the Van Buren Cass District Health Department out of Hartford. Among the ways we all have experienced the impact of coronavirus, COVID-19 on our community and our nation, COVID-19 has also exposed the toll that crisis and systemic health inequities continue to have on Hispanic and Latino communities in Van Buren County. The recent data from Van Buren County indicates Hispanic, Latino individuals are being hit disproportionately hard by COVID-19. Though Hispanics make up only 11% of the population in Van Buren County as of July 14th of this year, they account for more than half, 56% of all positive COVID-19 cases. And in the state of Michigan, the percentage of overall cases identified as Hispanic Latino ethnicity is 8%. So in response to the exposed disparity, Van Buren Cass District Health Department is employing additional focused strategies to increase prevention awareness, testing availability and accessibility, and connect communities of color to other resources that support basic needs like food and housing. And I'm not sure if the city council and the mayor have seen the news release. I could send it to you if you, to the mayor, to Travis, to share if you haven't seen that. I just read a portion of the news release.
Yep, send it along.
Oh, okay. I'll do that. And I appreciate your time, and have a good evening.
Thanks, Gail. Appreciate the update.
Oh, you're welcome. Goodbye.
All right, let's go back to old business. City Council will be asked to hold a public hearing regarding the closeout of the Center Street project.
Okay, Mayor, this is for the Center Street closeout public hearing. This is required for the CBDG grant funding as part of the Center Street Infrastructure and Streetscape grant. This closeout hearing is for the purpose of affording citizens an opportunity to submit comments and receive a final report on the completion of the project. The public streetscape was only part of the large-scale improvement project on Center Street, which included water line, sewer line, and road renovations. We used the drinking water revolving fund for improvements to the water lines, and sewer renovation construction was addressed through the state revolving loan fund. And the USDA, U.S. Department of Agriculture funds, loan funds were used for engineering costs. In the packet, Your Honor, we have some punch list items that we know that have to be taken care of, and so they've been addressed. Also, if there's further information needed by the council, we have Marilyn Smith, the project manager, the grant administrator, on the phone. We can have her sent out.
Okay, perfect. So this is the public hearing part, and if anybody for the public would like to call in, the number is 637-0777. So we'll give a minute for that. I still need a motion and a second to open the public hearing.
Mr. Mayor, this is George Sleeper. I make a motion to open the public hearing on the Center Street closeout.
Do I have a second?
This is Joe
Chris Campbell.
Second.
I'll go ahead and second.
All right, thank you. All right, we've got a motion, we got a second. We know what it's about. So this is the public hearing portion. We got a few more seconds, or do you have someone on the phone already?
I think they tried to send her up, but we'll see if it comes back. That was Marilyn Smith.
Oh, that's a grant administrator. And we could, if she wants to chat about it, we can, but
Right, and just the number to call in, 637-0777, if anyone has comments they'd like to get during the public hearing.
And Marilyn, you're on with the city council.
Good evening.
good evening.
We're having a public hearing for a closeout of the Center Street project and the MEDC portion only. And I don't know if you have any questions. The reason that we have to hold a public hearing is to show that we've met the requirements for national standards for low to moderate income. Now, South Haven last year was declared not a low to moderate income community. However, the low to moderate income community is benefiting from the project because it enhances more people coming in, more developers being encouraged to invest in the community, and just the activity, the availability of resources downtown now on that Center Street project, widening of the sidewalks and having more seating is encouraging more people to be able to utilize the services. And it's not just in front of a store, but it's actually all along Center Street, which is really good, with bike racks too. So it's going to benefit the community. And I don't know if you have any specific questions that you want to ask.
Any questions of the council?
Yes, that's what I'm wondering.
I'm getting a lot of head nods. I think everyone understands it. We like the project. We're thrilled it's done, and we appreciate your input.
Oh, I'm thrilled that it's done for you and that it got done on time so that your community, despite the COVID restrictions, was able to open back up again as much as possible.
Yep, we love
And if you don't have any other questions, then I'll wish you all a good night, and thank you very much for allowing me to participate.
Thanks for calling in. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Any public, no call-ins, right? So seeing none, if there's no council comments, we've got a motion and a second. I need a roll call.
Campbell,
Yes.
Reeser,
Yes.
Schlack,
Yes.
Sleeper,
Yes.
Wilkins,
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Yes.
Arnold,
Yes.
Smith.
Yes. All right, so what is theoretically open, wasn't it?
That was to open the public hearing right there.
All right, guys, guess what? No one called. We're gonna now just close it out. So motion and second to close it out.
Jeff Arnold, I'll make a motion to close the meeting.
Steve Slack, I'll second.
All right, motion and second to close the public hearing on Center Street. Roll call.
Reeser,
Yes.
Schlack,
Yes.
Sleeper,
Yes.
Wilkins,
Yes.
Arnold,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Smith.
Yes. Thanks, everybody. All right, next, City Council will be asked to take the following actions regarding a zoning ordinance amendment pertaining to driveway widths. And again, let's open a public hearing. So I need a motion and a second.
Jeff Arnold, I'll make a motion to open the public hearing.
It's George Sleeper, I second.
Very good. Motion and second. Kate, talk to us about driveway widths. Why are we talking about this?
Sure, Your Honor, this was an ordinance that came to the city council and had the planning commission look at it. This is to widen residential driveways up to 21 feet in width. The initial review by the planning commission did not recommend a review. We did some changes to the ordinance, and a model ordinance, draft ordinance was prepared and went back to the planning commission where they did recommend to allow an amendment of section 1716 to allow residential driveways to go up to 21 feet in width, but it does say that the apron, or the maximum currently allowed at the right-of-way, will be no more than 24 feet, so it's the lesser of.
Okay.
And so what this is kind of reflects currently, we have many driveways in the city that do not conform to the current standard of 16 feet width, and so this is a modification to address that.
Perfect. And 6370777. This is the public hearing portion. So 6370777. Same number for all these. Give folks a few seconds to call in.
Right, and this was already introduced to the council at your March 16th meeting, so this would be the final approval. This would be for adoption.
Sounds good.
So I'll do the roll call right now, and then we'll should get people enough time.
Yeah, that's true. Let's go ahead and get a roll call for opening that public hearing.
Schlack,
Yes.
Sleeper,
Yes.
Wilkins,
Yes.
Arnold,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Reeser,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes. And it appears all's quiet as far as call-ins, so let's go right into closing that public hearing.
No callers.
Steve Slack, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
George Sleeper, I second.
All right, motion and a second. Let's roll call.
Sleeper,
Yes.
Wilkins,
Yes.
Arnold,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Reeser,
Yes.
Schlack,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes. All right, we are at item B. Next, we're going to consider adoption of the ordinance to amend section 1716 of the zoning ordinance to allow residential driveways up to 21 feet in width.
George Sleeper, I recommend approval of or adopting of the ordinance to amend section 1716 of the zoning ordinance to allow residential driveways up to 21 feet in width.
Joe Reeser, I'll second it.
All right. Any questions of the council before we go on? I think we had this explained at the last meeting. It's pretty clear. Kate just did again. All right, let's roll call it.
Wilkins,
Yes.
Arnold,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Reeser,
Yes.
Schlack,
Yes.
Sleeper,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes. Next, City Council, we asked to take the following actions regarding a zoning ordinance amendment regulating balconies in the CBD. And first, we need to hold a public hearing, so I'll take a motion to open that public hearing.
Campbell, I'll make a motion to open a public hearing.
Joe Reeser, second it.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Let's go ahead and just do the roll call first, and then the number to call in, 637-0777.
Arnold,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Reeser,
Yes.
Schlack,
Yes.
Sleeper,
Yes.
Wilkins,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes. So the public hearing is open. All right, Kate, again, I know we did this last time, but remind us again, balconies.
Sure, this is for zoning ordinance amendment for section 603 of the zoning ordinance, and this would be a modification to provide that an 18-inch setback would be required for balconies in the central business district. This came out of the Planning Commission reviewing construction in the central business district, kind of looking at noise, vibration, and other items that came out of recent projects. The subcommittee came up with the recommendations, went to the Planning Commission, and they recommended the proposed draft ordinance that is before the council tonight. This was introduced on their March 16th regular meeting, and again, this regulation proposes that balconies be set back at least 18 inches from the lot line. Balcony is being defined as a porch or a platform that extends from an upper floor. There was a lot of concern at the Planning Commission level that extruding or balconies that project out have possibilities of things falling upon pedestrians, and this seems like a good idea at the Planning Commission level. So this is before the council for adoption tonight.
All right, very good. So this is the public hearing. No one's here. Any phone calls? No calls?
We'll close, but so if there's no callers, but let me just double check.
Okay.
Give me a minute. No callers just yet. I don't know if it's been a full minute.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Let's do the motion to close the public hearing.
It's George Sleeper. I make a motion to close the public hearing on balcony setbacks for the Central Business District.
Joe Reeser, I second it.
All right, motion and a second to close the public hearing. Let's do a roll call.
Campbell,
Yes.
Reeser,
Yes.
Schlack,
No.
Sleeper,
Yes.
Wilkins,
yes,
Arnold,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes. The public hearing is now closed. Next, we're going to consider the adoption of an ordinance to amend section 603 of the zoning ordinance to provide for an 18-inch setback for balconies in the central business district. Just need a motion.
It's George Sleeper. I'd like to make a motion to adopt an ordinance to amend section 603 of the zoning ordinance to provide for an 18-inch setback for balconies in the Central Business District.
Joe Reeser, I'll second it.
All right, we have a motion, a second. We heard from Kate. Council discussion on the issue? I think most everybody understands the concerns. I know we had a recent project which looks good, but obviously a concern with balconies extruding, and I understand that concern. Recommendations to me seems reasonable, and I would support it. So we have a motion and a second. If there's no other council comments, let's do a roll call.
Reeser,
Yes.
Schlack,
No.
Sleeper,
Yes.
Wilkins,
yes,
Arnold,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes. That takes us to new business. City Council, we asked to consider approval of a special event 2020-18, $9,000 in 90 minutes, a fundraiser for the Rotary of South Haven to occur at the Huron Street Pavilion on August the 9th, 2020 from 10 a.m. until 3 p.m. Just need a motion to consider that.
This is George Sleeper. I make a motion to approve special event 2020-18.
Jeff Arnold, I'll second.
Very good. And then, again, public, you'll have a chance to call in here in a second, 637-0777. Start that minute countdown. Kate, this is the Rotary. They do great things in town, so I don't think we can do pancake breakfast right now, so they're getting creative.
That's exactly right, Your Honor. South Haven Rotary is going to host this virtual fundraiser, so they'll be in the Huron Street Pavilion, looking for ways to get fundraising from the community. Rotary's been well known for donating to other nonprofits and good causes around the community. So in the course of 90 minutes, we will like to interview Rotary funding recipients, Rotary members, and some local talent, and we'll be giving away blueberries and pancake mix to the first 150 people who donate.
Very fun. Very good, very good. All right, so we've got a motion. We've got a second. We'll give another couple seconds for the public to call in. Council, any questions? We all understand it's another COVID-related change, but they're getting creative. You got to give them credit for that.
Looks like we have a caller.
All right, hopefully it's a fellow Rotarian on the phone.
caller, you're on with the City Council. Please state your name, and then you'll have 5 minutes to address the council. When you're done, just state that you finished.
Yes, this is Dan Thompson. I'm president of a local Rotary Club here in South Haven, Michigan. Thanks for taking my call, Mr. Mayor and council members. Briefly describing the event that's before you for approval. For decades, Rotary Club has held a pancake breakfast on Blueberry Festival and also 4th of July. That's a major part of our fundraising efforts. Last year, we raised over $51,000 with Rotary International District and matching funds in the club. We'd like to continue that level of funding, but we're challenged by the fact that we're unable to have our normal pancake breakfast. So we're thinking outside the box. We're having a virtual pancake breakfast, subject to council approval, at the north end of the pavilion. It's going to be a combination Ted Mack Original Amateur Hour and Jerry Lewis Telethon. We've challenged ourselves to raise $9,000 in 90 minutes on the 9th. And this will consist of interviewing recipients of Rotary Club funds. Go ahead. Rotary funds and seeing what impact the Rotary Club has on them, as well as some local talent, including the History Club, the Robotics Club, who've all been recipients of our funds. So this is we do have corporate donations from Jiffy Pancake Mix from Chelsea, Michigan, and also to Grand Champs Blueberries. We are not cooking. We're not serving any food other than packaged materials. So I'd ask your approval for this fundraiser so we can move forward on August 9th. Thank you for consideration. I'll answer any questions you have.
Thanks, Dan. We appreciate it. I know I don't have any questions. Council, questions for Dan? I got some nods and some thumbs up, which means people like what you're doing. So that's good. Hey, thanks for the call. We're going to take some public comment right now as well. So thank you.
Thank you. I'll sign off.
Thank you. All right. No public calls yet?
No other public callers on this time.
Okay, very good. So with that, no other council comments, right? Everyone looks good. We've got a motion and a second to approve special event 2020-18. Let's do a roll call.
Select,
Yes.
Sleeper,
Yes.
Wilkins,
Yes.
Arnold,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Reeser,
Yes.
Smith.
Yes. Thank you, everybody, and good luck to the Rotary. Next, City Council will be asked to receive information on the Community Safety Survey from Dr. Whitney DeCamp, Western Michigan University's Kircher Center for Social Research. Where are we going to slide?
We're going to have Dr. Kircher come up to where
Okay, perfect.
Travis sits. And
All right, thank you.
about 6 months ago, the city of South Haven contracted with Western Michigan University's Kircher Center to conduct a community safety survey. And Dr. DeCamp is here to present on the results of that survey.
Wonderful. Thanks for traveling out to see us tonight. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here, and I hope to be able to share some important information with you.
Great, thank you.
And before we get started, I think we have to share the screen so everyone can watch the presentation. So I think that's what IT is doing right now. And I think that we're live and ready to go.
Okay, great. All right, so the South Haven Safety Survey was conducted last fall. We wanted to ask about a variety of issues. I'll go over what they are, but I did want to note on a more somber note that, of course, you've seen in the news recently several drownings in Lake Michigan, including one in the South Haven area. And I can't say whether any of the things that I'm going to address in this presentation could address those particular incidents. But that does bring it into our minds freshly. It's a very serious issue and can have life and death consequences. So it is, even though we don't know for sure whether any of this could affect something like that, it is important to keep in mind just how serious this can be. With that said, I'll just go over what the survey includes. Working with the city, the Kircher Center and the city together identified some areas that we wanted to ask about to get ideas about community perceptions and see what the public feels about these issues. These include staffing levels for police and firefighters, the zoning and conduct enforcement satisfaction, whether people are happy or unhappy with that, public conduct and quality of life issues, and the potential lifeguard program that was being discussed. The methodology for this was in two different varieties. First, we did a mailed survey that went out to a random sample of 2,000 registered voters in South Haven in October of 2019. From those 2,000 that we sent out, we included business reply envelopes that had prepaid postage on, and 470 people returned completed questionnaires. That's a 23.5% response rate, which is actually quite good for a community survey. I've seen community surveys in this area as low as 9% and as high as 20%. Getting it above 20% is high, not only for this area, but in general, and it shows a very engaged and interested community. The data that from the completed questionnaires were weighted according to gender, age, and household income. This is because some people are more or less likely to respond and reply to a survey, depending on how much time they have available or how much interest they might have. For example, someone who is retired and lives alone might be more likely to return a survey because they have more time to do so than someone who is working full-time and has a household full of children, for example. So weighting the data like this allows us to overcome limitations where one group might have been more likely to respond. So this makes sure that the data matches the population based on these measures. The second survey that was done was an online version of the survey that was also done using the same kinds of questions. That one was opened in early December and remained open until late January after the paper survey had been done. We received 239 responses. The purpose for this one was to allow others who weren't selected for that original paper questionnaire to also have the ability to include their comments. The full report, which is available to the city, includes the findings from that. I'm not going to go over the findings from the online version tonight simply because quantitatively they are very similar to what we're going to see tonight. So that adds additional support to the findings that we're seeing here. It kind of replicated what we found in the mailed questionnaire. So rather than duplicate it and spend twice as much time on this, we'll just show you the mailed questionnaire results. All right, so first up, I want to talk about the staffing levels for police and firefighters. For each question, we asked about during the summer and during the rest of the year. So because, of course, this being a community that has a lakefront area, is going to have a potential for there being a difference depending on the time of year. For policing during the summer, we found that there was a great deal of satisfaction with the current levels. 50% of respondents said that South Haven currently provides the right amount of police during the summer, and an additional 7% said that they provide more than enough. So 57% of people felt that it was the right amount, or more than that compared to only 34% that felt it was inadequate. Looking at it during the rest of the year, you can see there was even more satisfaction. There was 70% of people saying that it was the right amount. So a clear majority there. For firefighters, we're seeing a similar story as police during the rest of the year. For firefighters during the summer, we see 68% said that it was the right amount, so a little over 2/3 felt that it was currently well staffed, and only 11% felt that it was not enough or far below what was needed. During the rest of the year, a slight uptick in the right amount figures there, 73% for that one, and only 5% of people felt that it was inadequate. Finally, we also asked about officers or other officials in general, other than lifeguards, for water rescues when needed during the summer. This one was the one that was the only one to have less than 50% say that it was the right amount. But between the right amount and more than enough, 53%, a majority, felt that the amount of people being offered for that was adequate. So in summary, what was found for staffing levels for police, firefighters, and other safety personnel found that the community seemed to feel that it was adequate as currently provided and that it meets the needs of the community. For zoning and code enforcement, we asked a series of questions about zoning issues, building issues, and asked for satisfaction on each of those. First one was whether or not the city provides enough zoning compliance enforcement. As you can see here, about 37% of people said that they agree or strongly agree, and 25% said that they disagree or strongly disagree. An additional 37% said either neutral or no opinion. So that's a high number of people who don't really have an opinion on the topic or identified as neutral. But the good news is that there are more people who agree that the city provides enough zoning enforcement than disagree. So it's good news, but there's also a lot of people out there who don't really have an opinion on this topic. For the building code enforcement question, we saw a very similar pattern there. 40% said that they strongly agree or agree, and 16% said that they disagree or strongly disagree. So a lot more people agree than disagree, but then there's those 43% that said they were neutral or had no opinion on the topic. So again, a lot of people either agree or don't have an opinion. There does seem to be a smaller group that is dissatisfied. Finally, to a specific person, asked to agree whether or not the code enforcement officer performs his duties well. Here we see 29% of people saying that they agree or strongly agree with that statement, compared to 14% who disagree or strongly disagree. There was a clear uptick here in the number of people who said that they were neutral or had no opinion, with 57% not offering whether they agree or disagree. That's probably because this is focused on an individual rather than sort of a general enforcement. So again, more people agree than disagree, but there's a lot of people who simply don't have an opinion on the topic. Next, the public conduct and quality of life issues. This includes a series of different questions. The first set asks people to identify what they see as problems in the community. For people swimming when there is a red flag, there was a clear majority here that felt this was a problem. Between identifying it as a moderate problem and identifying it as very problematic, 83% of people agreed that this was a problem, compared to only 13% who said it was either not a problem or only a small problem. Extending that out to when there's not a red flag, people being careless in the water other than during a red flag, it was 63%, so another clear majority there, that felt that it was either a moderate problem or very problematic, compared to only about 27% who said it was not a problem or a small problem. Now we start getting into ones that have more mixed opinions. For people bringing dogs on municipal beaches, about 50% said that it was a moderate problem or very problematic, compared to 46% who said that it was not a problem or a small problem. That is a difference that is within the margin of error. So here it's not really clear which way people fall. People seem to be fairly divided on this issue. And then moving in the other direction, for excessive noise during the summer, most people seem to not view that as a problem. Between not a problem and small problem, 63% of people did not flag it as a high problem area, compared to 32% who said it was either a moderate problem or very problematic. For disorderly conduct or intoxicated individuals during the summer, here it's a little bit more mixed, but still the majority seem to side on it not being a major problem. 54% of people said either not a problem or a small problem, compared to 39% who identified it as a moderate problem or very problematic. And then finally, we have physical fighting in public areas during the summer. 60% said it was either not a problem or a small problem, compared to 24% who said that it was a moderate problem or very problematic. So to kind of sum up this series of questions, swimming when there's a red flag or carelessly swimming in the water even when there's not a red flag were the ones that had clear indications that the public views it as a major problem. Dogs on municipal beaches was more mixed, and the other issues that were asked about were not seen as major issues. The next series of questions in this area ask about whether or not the public would support or oppose ordinances to address them. For swimming when there is a red flag warning, about 81% of participants said that they would either definitely support or somewhat support an ordinance addressing that, compared to 14% who were opposed either somewhat or definitely. For blight violations, 69% of people said that they would definitely support or somewhat support an ordinance addressing blight violations, compared to 17% who said that they would somewhat or definitely oppose an ordinance addressing blight violations. For loose dogs in city parks and streets, we had 71% who definitely or somewhat supported an ordinance, compared to 13% who somewhat or definitely opposed an ordinance addressing loose dogs in city parks and streets. For smoking on beaches or other
getting static on the line.
That's better.
We're going to have City Hall go ahead and dial back in.
Council members, before we resume, I wasn't sure how much there was a point that we stopped being audible. If you would like us to go back or have the Dr. DeCamp go back and review something.
These are audio, not my scan. I'm not sure. Still quiet.
Okay, is everyone able to hear us from here? Yes, okay, I see shaking heads. We're going to go with this.
Okay. Council members, was there a point in the presentation where you stopped being able to understand Dr. Kirschner, and would you like us to go backwards?
A little bit, yeah. So if you could go back maybe just about a minute back. I know it's hard to say space-wise.
Okay.
Maybe just start with the support of the ordinances, like red flag, dogs on beach.
Yeah.
That was easy. It's important to kind of say what people support. And of course, naturally, my remote stopped working now, so I'll see if I can. Is it working? Okay, now it's working. Got it. Okay. All right. I'll pick up from here. We asked whether members of the community would support or oppose ordinances that would create fines for loose dogs in city parks and streets. We found 71% of respondents said that they would definitely or somewhat support ordinance addressing that problem, compared to 13% who would somewhat or definitely oppose such ordinances. For smoking on beaches or other public spaces, 67% said that they would definitely or somewhat support ordinances addressing that, compared to 19% who said they would somewhat or definitely oppose ordinances. And then finally, we have increased penalties for repeat offenses. 84% said they would definitely or somewhat support ordinances that increase penalties for repeat offenders, compared to 9% who would somewhat or definitely oppose them. So to sum up the question about ordinances, there was clear support ranging from as low as about 2/3 support up to even much higher than that, 3/4 or higher support for all of the ordinances that we asked about. And then we get to the final area that I want to address, and that's the potential lifeguard program. As you know, this is a very serious issue. There are strong opinions about this, and what the survey shows is that while there are strong opinions on both sides, there is not a clear majority that supports either side of the argument in terms of whether or not to resume a lifeguard program in South Haven. When asked whether they would support or oppose South Haven providing lifeguards at North Beach and South Beach during the summer, we see a fairly mixed response here. 37% of people said they would somewhat or definitely oppose such a program, but at the same time, 44% said they would definitely or somewhat support having that program. Now, these numbers are fairly close together, but they are far enough apart that I can say that the margin of error suggests that we can be 87% confident that more people would support the program than would oppose it. However, neither of these approaches a majority. They both fall short of 50%. That is because 19% of people said that they were either neutral or had no opinion on a lifeguard program. So that means that there is potential for public support going in either direction based on the numbers that I have received here. Right now, there is a slight edge towards supporting the program. Another question was asked whether people would support or oppose using existing city funds, such as parking revenue, to provide a lifeguard program. This one was another very mixed response. 42% said they would definitely or somewhat support that. 41% said they would somewhat or definitely oppose that. And 18% said they were neutral or had no opinion. Now, I want to note that it's unclear whether those who said that they're opposed to this are again voicing that they are opposed to offering the program, or whether they are specifically opposed to using existing funds as opposed to using new funds for something like this. If I had the chance to go back and do it again, I might ask another question to kind of drill into that, better understand the responses. But because it is a little unclear, it should be noted this is not a proxy for the previous question that addressed specifically whether they would support having lifeguards. Another question was whether they believe the city of South Haven provides enough lifeguards during the summer. Now, obviously, the current number that it's provided is 0. This question was asked as part of a block of other questions, whether they provide enough police, firefighters, etc. So there would be somewhat comparability there. I'm not going to make comparisons to those questions because this one was difficult to interpret, largely because of the number of people who selected no opinion here, which was much higher than the other ones. Additionally, you can note that 11% of people reported that the city provides more than enough lifeguards. Of course, the city currently provides 0. So these seem to be people who are voicing strong opposition to the program. In contrast, there are some people here who said that it is far below what is needed. So here again, we see that there is a portion of the community that also feels strongly that this should be provided. I want to note something that I haven't really noted for anything else here because of how mixed these results are, and that is that there are some demographic differences that should be noted as well. On this slide, you can see that there is a large difference there in the opposed columns. That represents that individuals who are age 65 and older are much more likely to oppose the city providing lifeguards in North Beach and South Beach than are people who are in the 18 to 64 category. Specifically, those who are between age 18 and 64, 32% oppose offering lifeguards compared to 46% of those age 65 plus. This was a significant difference and was one of only 2 demographic differences we found on the lifeguard program question. very large difference based on whether or not there are children in the household. For those that report having children in their household, 67% support having a lifeguard program compared to 38% who do not have children in their household. Likewise, 19% of those who have kids in their household oppose having lifeguards compared to 45% who do not have kids in their household. We also asked a variety of questions that were open-ended and allowed participants to provide their thoughts on some issues, including the lifeguard program. The full report contains over 50 pages of comments, small font size, and single space. So there's a lot there, and it's very difficult for me to try and summarize them in a way that captures the diversity of opinions that were shared. I would encourage members of the council to take a look at some of those comments to get a better idea of what your community members had to say about these issues. But since I'm here to summarize the report, I'll provide some brief highlights from those comments. For those who spoke in favor of having a lifeguard program, comments were generally supportive of using lifeguards and talked about the importance of taking efforts to ensure safety, and sometimes positively referenced the previous lifeguard program that South Haven offered. Among those who were opposed to providing lifeguards, comments often cited concerns about financial cost and legal liability. Some comments also expressed concerns for the safety and or the effectiveness of lifeguards. And some comments spoke of an ethic of individual or personal responsibility. Comments such as parents should watch their own kids, or beaches are swim at your own risk, things like that. And for those who neither supported nor opposed lifeguard programs, they tended to express a combination of these opinions, reflecting their mixed overall opinion of this. To give you some quantitative numbers for these concerns, about 25% of people expressed concerns about the effectiveness of lifeguards, 21% referenced that ethic of individual responsibility, 16% mentioned liability concerns, 11% expressed concerns about the cost of lifeguards, 5% questioned the ability to hire sufficient staffing for a lifeguard program, and 5% expressed concerns for the safety of lifeguards. So to sum up the entire survey, for staffing levels, there was clear support for maintaining the current staffing practices. For zoning and code enforcement, there were a lot of people who had no opinion or provided neutral responses, but of those who did provide an opinion, they were much more likely to report a satisfaction or dissatisfaction. For public conduct and quality of life issues, there was clear support for adopting new ordinances to address a variety of issues. And for the lifeguard program, there was, as I noted, mixed opinion on support for the lifeguard program. There was a slight plurality that did support providing lifeguards, but there was also sizable opposition to the program as well, and a non-trivial portion of people who were neutral. They addressed a variety of concerns about effectiveness, liability, and general costs. The takeaway from this that I get is that there is room to move in the direction, and an evidence-based approach might be a good approach to take here. There were some specific concerns raised by community members here, and if they can be addressed by showing research or studies that address these concerns, such as the effectiveness of lifeguards, studies such as guidelines such as those from the CDC that address these issues, might help in providing additional information to the community so that they can make a more concrete decision to support or oppose the program. Okay, so that's what I know. I'd be happy to take any questions at this time.
Sounds good. Yeah, we've got time if people have questions. Anybody from the council have any questions? Sounds good.
I do.
Sorry, Steve. And before you jump in, do me a favor. If the public wants to call in and ask any questions, 637-0777. So do some council comments, and then if we have public comments, we'll take those too. So Steve, what you got?
My question involves the survey being weighted. Just wondering if we could have some more details on how it was weighted, and how it was measured or precisely measured regarding age, non-resident taxpayer, business taxpayer, resident, non-resident, year-round, summer-only type of deal. How was it all weighted out? It would help me understand the survey and trust the survey more.
Sure. So for the weighting procedure specifically, we used only 3 characteristics for that: gender, age, and household income. These were questions that were asked on the survey, so people self-identified whether they were male or female. They self-identified what age category they were, and they identified what their annual household income is. These were then compared to known demographic information from census data, and the weighting procedures that are used for surveys such as this use a formula to assign a weight to a particular case. Say, for example, in this case, our sample had 41.6% male and 58.1% female. We know from the census that it's actually 45% of the South Haven community that is male compared to 55% female. And so females were given a slightly smaller weight in the data set. Males were given a slightly larger weight. And so when the numbers are calculated, males contribute just a little bit more than females do based on just the raw numbers in the sample to bring up their opinion to be representative of the population. This provides a very small adjustment, but it does ensure that the ultimate results here are more representative of the community, should any of the opinions be correlated with things like gender, age, or income. And as you can see with the lifeguard program, there was a correlation there between age and their opinions, and so weighting by these characteristics would matter. You also brought up some other questions about demographic characteristics that weren't weighted, whether someone was a resident, for example. This was only sent to registered voters in the city of South Haven, and therefore it would not include someone who's not a resident as long as they are, of course, legally registered to vote. There was a question on there about whether they were full-year resident, part-year resident, non-resident was also on there. But the vast majority of people identified as being full-year residents, or I think here we go. 75% said that they own a home, and a similar percent describe their home as single-family home. Sorry, that's not the question we were looking for here. Here we go. 93% of the sample described themselves as all-year residents of South Haven, and 6.1% described themselves as part-time residents with South Haven as their primary residence. Did that address your question?
Yes, it did. The other question I had was, I wish we could have asked them if they would support a special assessment to hire lifeguards for a millage. I think that would have been a great question for the city council to hear, but thank you for the report, and thank you for your answering my questions. Thanks.
Sure. Thank you, Gavin.
Anybody else?
Yeah, this is Joe Reeser. I come from an area as a kid where they did have lifeguards everywhere, and I was told just last summer when I went back to the New Jersey beaches, a lifeguard, whether he's right or not, said they've never had a drowning where they have lifeguards, which really is a strong statement. So that brings me to my question tonight. If we did consider lifeguards, where would we put them? For example, I'm real familiar with the South Beach. Would we put a couple right by where the lighthouse is, just south of it? Or would we be liable for putting one every 50 or 30 foot and come all the way down past the Blue Stairs? Then the next question comes up. That beach is only about 10 foot wide. Do we put a lifeguard stand there? Do we have to watch that water? We could cut the cost down by 2/3 if we said we're only going to put them just near the lighthouse on the north side and the south side. So I'd like to know what people think of that issue. And then the other one, to what Steve was saying about millage, is another way of paying, of course, and this is done in a lot of New Jersey beaches. You pay for badges. You get a little badge to go on the beach. So you're basically paying to go on the beach. So if a tourist comes for one day or a weekend or a week, they pay different amounts for each day. And then I believe, and I'm not positive, I think in New Jersey, in some of these towns, if you're a year-round resident, you don't pay at all to go on the beach. But it becomes self-financed by having these badges. So I'd like to know what people would have thought who were against the cost. Would they not be against the cost if they had paid for badges or if tourists had to pay for it? Of course, the flip side is we could push away tourists if we made them pay to go on the beach. That's it.
Yeah, and Joe, we're really not kind of debating, there's a lot of variations on lifeguards for tonight. This is just kind of his report on the community survey. So I don't want to get too far into the weeds on models for lifeguards and good, bad, pro, con. Really, it's just to kind of hear what the community thought on the concept at this point in time. Because that's a kind of discussion that could take quite a bit of time. Unless anybody wants to throw something out quickly, I just don't want to get too far into that topic. Quiet. All right. Any other comments for our guests here?
I do have one comment, Mayor. For those who want to know more about the survey results and the comments that were received, the link has been placed on the manager's report for item 9. So page 72, there's a link there. You can go in and see 131 pages of the comments that were received, and 50 pages of those, as Dr. DeCamp said, are those individual comments. So if you have more questions about what you saw in the survey, that the raw data or the data right there is to the survey results is in the package.
And what's helpful, and we've actually got our emergency services director, Brandon, behind it, and I usually have his staff have a chance to dissect that survey, or at least just the folks that are out there, rescuing people, just to get their perspective on it sometimes. And we'll get them a homework project, because, they would bring added value to those results, might be able to help us just to kind of interpret them a little bit. So that'd be great. Yeah, I think that's all I had. If there's no other questions, I'll see it. We will say thank you and have a great night.
All right.
Much appreciated. All right, next, Mr. Brandon Higgs, South Haven Area Emergency Services Executive Director.
Want me to?
Yeah, come on up. Show up at Florida. I love it. Yes. Good evening.
Good evening. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. What's happening?
Oh, just wanted to give you, council members, a quick rundown about our last 30 days, actually. I know Kate had attached it to the agenda. It's been a busy month. The last 30 days, we've had up to 258 calls. And to touch on a couple of the water-related issues that we've had, water-related rescues that we've had the last 2 months, I believe. I believe our first one was April 30th. Up until now, we've had 9 total. 5 calls off the North Beach, 4 calls off the South Beach. One was a suicidal subject. We were dispatched twice for capsized vessels, 2 drownings, 2 subjects that were swept off the pier, 2 that were in distress and canceled while we were en route. And very interestingly, 3 of the above calls, of the 9 calls, the life rings out of the piers were used to rescue the subjects by bystanders and our responders who had responded after we'd been dispatched. So that would have been a very huge success. Those could have been 3 people that didn't come back. So, and those are only the ones we know about. Our beach interns check the life rings every morning when they're out, and there's been multiple times where they've noticed that they were misplaced, the rope, who knows if the rope was missing because somebody was vandalizing it or it was actually used and, not put back correctly. So, them have been an awesome addition. In efforts to enhance our water rescues, Kate had offered that we could dock our fireboat at the Southside Marina on busy weekends, which we took advantage of that 2 weekends ago and had it out for a week. We upped our training on it, pretty much doubled our training hours, I would say. We've been performing more water rescue related trainings, life-saving operations. We've also, as I think most of you have probably seen, we've supplied our paid on call personnel that respond to the most calls and career personnel with their own personal water safety bags that include a 50-foot throw rope, a personal flotation device and helmet. And that was donated with grant money from Albemarle. That's been a very nice addition as well. Actually, I have one in my truck. And the nice thing about the life vests are, once you have your own, you can kind of get it fitted to where you need it to be, and then all you have to do is clip it and you go. So, and also we have been distributing our beach safety placemats. These were kind of a spitballed idea we thought about early this spring, late winter, and one thing turned into another. We contacted a local artist, Jessica Byers. She designed this and we kind of partnered up with Bronson Safe Kids Coalition. They took it and ran with it. It's been a huge success. We've been distributing them to local restaurants, and with different I've been taking comments from the community and citizens that, hey, why don't you distribute it here? Why don't you put it here? And they've all been great suggestions. Vacation rentals, hang them up on the bridge, or at the concession stand for the beach. Post them in the window. I think a lot of it's education, and people from out of town might not realize how scary our lake is. So, but we've been kind of hitting it pretty hard and blowing it up on our water rescue, along with everything else.
Yeah, exactly. Very good. All right. I was curious, and Kate, this might be just something, I'm curious what the other council members would think, but the survey talks about, looking at ordinances and, what we do with red flags. It might be, maybe with your consultation, maybe we could, if the council's interested, maybe just take a look at our existing ordinances as it relates to going in with red flags, going out on the pier. I think we probably all get the comments. What are we doing about people that are going out kind of on risky days, putting themselves in danger, putting our first responders in danger? Maybe just look at what we currently have in place and what our options are. If that'd be of interest of others on the council, I'd be curious to at least review what we currently do and see if we have some options to increase the size of our stick to decrease the tendency to want to have those dangerous behaviors.
Well, I would say, Mr. Mayor, that one of the comments that I wrote that stuck out to me was that one of the comments said something like a flyer or something put in every rental home with what the flags mean on the beach and things of that nature. I think that's a great idea. I think it's a great idea maybe to be in the city newsletter every month with your electric bill as well.
Agreed.
If I might add, yeah. Mr. Mayor, I actually was talking to a couple of our coworkers here at City Hall and attempting with IT's help, I haven't asked them yet, but to make it a little more user friendly as far as how visitors can check flags, flag colors and wave conditions. It's a little cumbersome now on a smartphone to get to that point, but if it's something that can just be super simple, you click on South Haven's website or you click on Shay's website and it's boom, there's the flag, colors and conditions and all that, just to make it a little bit easier. Because I know that, as we all know, we live off our phones now, and it'd be something just a little bit easier to get to it. Sounds good.
Mr. Mayor, this is Jeff Arnold. To kind of respond to your question, I'm a big snow skier in the winter, and I know that in the mountains, when people go backcountry skiing, if they get lost or if they get injured and paramedics, first responders have to go in and get them, they have to pay for the recovery. So maybe that would be something we could think about if we have to make water rescues. Maybe the people have to help us recoup some of the cost of the time of our first responders, possibly.
Right. I'd just be curious just to have everybody review what we currently do, what we have the potential to do, and really just to, I mean, we just need to reiterate, when the flag's red, there's a good chance you could die. Period. It's dangerous. We're not messing around. The flags are red. There's a big, swimming with a hashtag sign to it. So, or a cross. So, I got, people are calling us going, hey, there's a lady with an infant walking on the pier and the waves are crashing over. And, what do we do? I just don't, think people get it. I mean, a lot of them don't still, unfortunately. I mean, they don't respect the lake. And I think a lot of the locals do because we've seen what's happened. So I guess just a review of what's possible. If we think it could be a deterrent, if it could help, I guess it'd be an interesting discussion just to see what's possible.
We can definitely look into that. And I do believe that Shays does have a recovery fee, and they have utilized that in the past. I don't know if they have this year yet so far. And I agree with Brandon, if we can make the check the flags, the wave status more easily. I've heard that too, is that if you're trying to get to that page, it's very cumbersome. But just trying to say, hey, if you're looking for a beach day, just being on the beach is what you're looking for. But if you're looking to come swim, this may be a more dangerous day. It is definitely something we can look into, and as well as doing another review or a review on what we currently do, what we have the potential for. We can prepare that for council.
I'm just curious. Thank you. Any other questions for Brandon?
One thing I'd recommend is I think information for people, because as people do come to our town, if they're not renters, they are day visitors. There's not a lot of indication if you're going out on the pier of what could happen. I think if maybe even a graphic or bringing up the fact there could be a recovery fee, having it posted before somebody's actually walking towards or on the pier itself. I know we have a lot of signs posted. The hard part is they're right once you step onto the beach. And with retail, because I'm based on retail, first 10 feet don't matter. It's after that. If you put anything in 10 feet, once somebody enters, they're not going to see it. So you have to give space. Just some thoughts.
No, that's a good thought. We should look at placement, and that's a very good idea, Chris. We can look at all that. Anybody else? George.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I had one thought. I kind of like Brandon's idea about trying to make the flag status easier to get to. And one thought I had is maybe if we could put like a QR code or something at the signs down by the beach, someone could just scan the QR code and it'll take them right to the flag status website maybe.
High tech. Good idea. All right. Good ideas. We got the thinking juices going. All right. We got nothing else, Brandon. Thank you for coming. Thank again you and your staff for everything you guys will do. And I know you guys are under a lot of stress right now, so thank you to you and your staff.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brandon.
Have a good night.
All right. I think we are to the point on the agenda when we hear from citizens in the audience will be put on items not on the agenda. And the number is 637-0777. So we have, it sounds like one caller already in the queue. So if you'd like to get after that person, again, 637-0777. And if you're on the phone, you'll have, you want to thanks.
Caller, please state your name, and then you'll have 5 minutes to address the council. And when you finish, just state that you're done with your comment.
Americans, good evening to the Kansas City Council.
Good evening, Joe.
To recent passing of the civil rights icon John Lewis, and acknowledge what he meant to the struggle for freedom, equality, justice, and human rights in our country. In this day and time, I want to say that my heart goes out to those of every race that has to deal with the hurt, the pain, and the lasting damages for systemic racism, policies, or discrimination of any form. Discrimination is defined as a bias or prejudice resulting in the denial of opportunity or unfair treatment. Too often, discrimination has been used as a tool to silence the crime, equality and justice in our world. Zero, first, and one unsaid. And I think if you complain, guarantee you and say you enjoyed it, unquote. To the council, I sincerely express to you that there comes a time when silence is no longer acceptable. We have witnessed in the past several months throughout our country and our cities. Even with the latest issue of cyber violence. And the fact that many leaders serve as a subpoena to this country, to South Haven, and to my brothers and sisters. And we, a community of people, can no longer afford to set aside and be silent when it comes to human rights. And silence is betrayal. Silence is violence. Brothers and sisters stand in the black community as we bring about concerns to the city council and to the city staff about its lack of diversity and its hiring practice, specifically when it comes to people of color. South Haven is made up about 13% African American and 4% Hispanics, but yet minorities make up less than 10% of the 100+ employees hired by the city of South Haven. The city council has one who loves and supports what's best for this city. I have at many times all of my influence for building a relationship between the black community of Ward 1 and this city. I have been called upon many times to bring peaceful outcomes as we reach a black man's march. And the people, as you know, along with the mayor, the interim city manager, and the chief of police, along with several city council members and many local residents, took part in this peaceful march. Their presence there implies their support of the human rights issues that blacks are facing in our country. This march took place on June 6th, but unfortunately by July 7th, when it comes to equality and the hiring of minorities, it seems to many that the city of South Haven has once again proven that many have suspected that diversity really doesn't matter in South Haven. I believe that South Haven could stand as an agent for change, and especially in times like these. And so I submit this opportunity to meet with the acting city manager, the mayor, and council members to express my concerns as well as those of other black leaders as it pertains to diversity of the city. In closing, it is not my intentions. I want to make this clear. It is not my intentions to label this city staff, nor this council of being a body that don't want to see change as it relates to people of color. But it is my intention to put on the conscience of my white brothers and sisters that live in this city, and to every one of you that's on council and those in positions and to please recognize the hurt, the pain, the voice of the voters who are crying out for equality, justice, and opportunities that have been denied them due to their skin tone and themselves throughout this country. Last, for the council, please keep in mind, we will have to give an account of whether or not we are truly are those people. Thank you for letting me respond. That's it.
Thank you, Joe. All right. Anybody else?
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Mayor, this is Jeff Arnold. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
I was having some audio problems. Was that Reverend Wilkins?
It was.
Okay, Reverend Wilkins, if you're listening, if those comments are typed up, could you please email those to us? As I was having some audio issues and couldn't hear everything that you had to say. So if you could please email those in to the city, to the council members, I would love to be able to read those.
I couldn't understand the audio as well.
Okay, thanks, Joe. Any other public comments? He's not coming through the door.
I haven't heard.
All right. Why don't we go ahead and give it enough time? That gets us to city manager.
No other. Thank you, Mayor. I just want to highlight some of the things that we're doing downtown. As you know, June 24th, we had hand washing stations installed in the downtown to kind of foster a safe environment for people. They have been used very well, so that's a good thing for people to keep washing their hands, wearing their masks. We do want to encourage everyone wearing their masks in areas where you cannot maintain 6-foot distancing. We have hand washing stations also at the South Beach. You may also see some new Trail Town signage going up. We've been working with the CBD and Michigan Department of Natural Resources to get Trail Town, pure Michigan Trail Town designation signage up, as well as new Harbor Walk signage. I do want to note that it's a great thing that Rotary is having a pancake 90,000 in 90 minutes. They're a great organization that does a lot of fundraising. I recently heard that the Blueberry Festival will be coming out with an announcement saying that while they're not going to have concerts or pie eating contests, they will still have some events where people can participate either remotely or virtually. They will have Farm Day here in the pavilion, and they'll have virtual pie eating, kids scavenger hunt and such. So they'll be coming out with that kind of an update. And lastly, we are at the Disability Networks of Southwest Michigan. They're having their award ceremony on this Friday. That's what Gail Patterson had mentioned. The City of South Haven actually is receiving a Community Inclusion Award from Disability Networks for our changes in policy and our training that we've received to all staff members to be more inclusive and recognize disability challenges and what we can do as staff members to address those. So we'll be receiving that award on July 24th during their program that Gail Patterson had also mentioned between noon and 1:30 p.m. So that's my comments.
Very good. Thank you for the update. Council comments. Let's go around. Joe, what's up?
I just want to compliment the city for the information on lifeguards. Whereas maybe it didn't point in any one particular direction, any additional information like that is helpful because it's going to be a difficult decision either way. So thanks for doing it.
Thanks, Joe. Mr. Arnold.
No comment.
All right, very good. Thank you. Letitia.
I would first like to say that my prayers go out to the family of the individuals who lost their lives in South Haven over the past couple of days, and may God strengthen the families in their loss. I also would like to acknowledge the passing of one of our civil rights icon, John Lewis, who served as the conscience of America. And just at the end, I just kind of wanted to quote something that he once said. He said, "When you see something that's not right, you have to say something." And that's the end of my comment.
Thanks. Steve.
No comment.
Thanks, sir. George.
I guess I just want to thank the members of the South Haven Area Emergency Services for their help in rescuing people, and not just the Shays folks, but all the bystanders who were in the area and tried to lend assistance and try to help people that found themselves in a difficult way. So that's much appreciated. And that's all my comments. Thank you.
Thanks, George. I think one of those helpers is our next council member, Mr. Campbell. Any comments from you, Mr. Helper?
No comment.
All right. Thanks for pulling a lot of people out of the water. You're on a kiteboard, right? Is that what you're on down there?
Yeah, it was actually, I had just left. It was actually a guy named Drew. He ended up pulling 3 kids out himself. And yeah, I think total it was about 8 kids or 8 people they helped that day.
It's pretty remarkable. Well, thanks for being out there. We appreciate it. All right, so I think that's everybody, right? Everybody. My quick comments. Number 1, if you've been downtown, take a look at the flowers. They look great. Compliments to our city staff. Everything's looking good downtown. Number 2, we keep getting comments about, distancing and mask stuff, and the city is doing its best. We will be coming out with a press release, just kind of like letting you know our efforts, education. Just really, we're trying to just increase awareness, getting people out more. We have a lot of other things to do other than jam into close quarters. Go pick blueberries. A couple weeks we can pick apples. hike. We have a lot of good trails. Go kayak. There's things to do. So just encouraging people to get out and spread out. It'd be wonderful. And then finally, congratulations to our 2020 South Haven High School graduates. They did their graduation yesterday. Despite the rain, the thunderstorms, all that good stuff, they did it. Hats off to them and go conquer the world. On that note, I will seek a motion to adjourn.
Steve Slack, I make a motion to adjourn.
Jeff Arnold, I'll second.
Motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor say aye. Oh, wait, sorry, roll call, sorry.
Sleeper,
Yes.
Wilkins,
Yes.
Arnold,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Reeser,
Yes.
Schlack,
Yes.
Smith.
Yes, we are adjourned. Have a good night, everybody.